No radio? No problem. Stream us live on saga960am.ca. You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. It's officially a snow day. It's a wet one. It's an icy one. Actually, as I was coming into the studio, I got hit with big ice pallets, and it wasn't nice. But I hope you're inside. I hope you got the radio tuned up, and I hope you're ready for another amazing show, because we got a lot of guests lined up for the next 2 hours, and we have a lot of topics that we're going to be talking about. But before I begin, who we're going to have on the show are the following people. We're going to have comedian extraordinaire, as well as pretty much part of the CBC family. He's a casual host of Q, and he's also the host of Canada Reads, which is actually on CBC on TV. My boy Ali Hassan is going to be joining me in studio, as well as a former colleague of mine from my Rogers TV days. He is a television producer currently for Bell Media, and he's here in studio. That's going to be joining us a little later to talk about some of these topics, and that's my friend Wasim Parkar. And then last but not least, I also have the founder of the Filmi South Asian Movie Festival. Yes, the film festival, which is taking place actually next weekend. My boy Dinesh Sachdev, another person that I knew through my Rogers TV time. He's also going to be joining us here in studio, and all four of us are going to be talking about the following things, and we're going to be sharing some theories back and forth. The first one, we're just coming right out of Black Friday. Actually, if you go online, there's probably a bunch of Black Friday deals that are still taking place. But there was an article that came out that said that Canadians are actually spending more during Black Friday weekend than they are actually during Boxing Day weekend. And if you know anything about Black Friday, you know it started in the United States and is slowly crept over here into Canada. And for the last, I'd say 10 years, it's become quite the tradition for a lot of consumers to look forward to Black Friday deals, whether you're looking for a TV, whether you're looking for shoes, whether you're looking for anything that's cheap and you're willing to spend money on. Black Friday weekend seems like that type of weekend. And I want to get Ali and Wasim and Dinesh to give me some theories on Black Friday weekend, because it's interesting to see how we've adapted this culture from the US and we slowly have left Boxing Day behind. But I don't know about any of you guys, but when I was growing up, I used to look forward to Boxing Day, because Christmas Day, everything would be closed. But then I remember after we'd open all of our presents, my brother and I, sometimes my dad, would open up some of the flyers, look online, and see some of the amazing Boxing Day deals. And we used to get up at a ridiculous time on Boxing Day and go to a Best Buy or go to a Future Shop. Oh, now I'm really dating myself, to buy various products. So it'll be interesting to get their perspectives on that as well. This week, a lot of interesting news in the hockey world, specifically when it comes to race. So Bill Peters, who was the head coach of the Calgary Flames, who recently quit, was accused of racist language about a decade ago from an ex-player by the name of Akeem Alou. And this is actually stemming from an incident that did take place when Peters was coaching Alou during his time at the Rockford Ice Dogs. But it seems like in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of this racist undertone that's been coming up within the hockey world. And actually, one of my guests, Ali Hassan, actually starred in a movie that had to do with ethnic people playing hockey. So I want to get some thoughts around this. Like, why is it that we're seeing more of why are we seeing more of these incidents pop up from people's past, and does it surprise them that we're seeing these types of issues creeping up, and even stemming from a couple weeks ago with the Don Cherry incident? It seems that there's been a bit of a microscope now put not only on hockey but sport in general, and just some of the things that are being said. So it'll be great to get their perspectives. And last but not least, we're also this past weekend, I haven't seen it yet, but The Irishman, which is Martin Scorsese's brand new movie, had just come out on Netflix. What makes this movie very interesting is its rollout. It started as a limited theatrical release, and then eventually now it's on Netflix. I know a lot of people that are watching it. It's about 3.5 hours. I'm a big Scorsese guy, so I'm super excited to see it. But I want to get their thoughts on, number one, the fact that this movie is going straight to Netflix and the fact that it had a limited theatrical run. Is this going to be the trend when it comes to major blockbusters in the future? And then we're also going to be talking about Dinesh's Film Festival filming for the last half an hour. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when I come back, I'm going to be joined by Ali and Dinesh to kick things off here on New Theory Radio on Saga 960 AM. And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. And this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And it's about that time that we start theorizing on this week's show. And again, I did sort of run down my guest earlier, so let me run them down yet again and tell you who's currently in studio. I have 2 out of the 3 guests because one of them is currently stuck in traffic. I got the first person starting on my left. Like I mentioned, he is a comedian. He is a CBC host for Q. He is he hosts Canada Reads. He just finished I think a national tour for your
cross country
tour.
Yeah.
My boy Ali Hassan's in the building. He's also an actor as well. What don't you do?
Anything that makes a couple of bucks to feed the children that keep popping up in my house, I'm into it.
Awesome.
That's not true. I have my standards. But yeah, no, there's a lot. That's show business in Canada, baby.
It definitely is. Yeah, I feel like you epitomize show business in Canada.
Yeah, just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, you know? Some of it does. And I feel I'm super honored to have the life I have because I enjoy all the things I do. And when I don't enjoy the stuff I do, it shows.
Yeah.
So it's worked out. But some people, I don't know how people just act. You know, like they have like some sort of a Joe job or a serving job.
That's like all they do.
Yeah, and those people are in the audition room sometimes, and they are very stressed.
Really,
because there's so much riding on each audition and each role.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, hey man, I don't get this. That's cool. I'll go back to my regular life, which is pretty. You don't control me.
Yeah,
you don't own me. I don't see any rings on these fingers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good.
He's like you're pretty much your own master, which I love.
Yeah, well, master is a strong word maybe for what I've been doing, but it's. Nobody would have pegged me as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Nobody would have pegged me as a father of 4, but here we are.
There you go.
Here we are.
And also a good chef as well.
Yeah. Well, that they would have known about in the early days.
And how I found about you being a chef is due to the other guest that we have in studio. He is the, can I call you the founder of the Filmi?
I put a co in there. I put a
co-founder. Okay.
Yeah.
I did put founder in the
that's all right.
social feeds, which is probably going to piss somebody off.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll have a word with him.
But he's also a previous television producer for Rogers TV. How many episodes of South Asian Focus?
I think it was, I capped off at 600.
600 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's like
300 straight for sure.
So you did 300. Oh, wow. So that's
I didn't take a week off. There was a time for 6 years I didn't take 1 week off, 6 gets.
You're like the Cal Ripken of Rogers TV.
Yeah, I was at that time. I love being the Iron Man. I think consistency is an important thing.
Also, he's in a loveless marriage, but that may have been a pre-existing condition. That may not have anything to do with film.
It's true. It is Dinesh Sachdev.
Just like Cal.
I have to coach him to be like, hey man, please spend some time with your wife.
Yeah, it's true.
Important.
Poor Sonia. Poor Sonia.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she appreciates what you do now, though.
She does.
Yeah.
She does. It gets us into things.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that right now is like your most busiest time because
it is. I'm a week away from the fest. So
the funny thing is, I want to tell this story on the air just to kind of throw Dinesh under the bus. But he was trying to flake. He was trying to bail on the show.
It's true.
And then I was like, well Ali Hassan's coming.
Once the Santa Claus parade's canceled, you feel like, well, if Santa Claus can flake, I can flake.
Right.
Yeah. The Burlington Santa Claus parade canceled today. Yeah.
There's a couple of them.
Oh, a couple of them. Wow.
Yep.
So then the funny thing is I was like, well, Ali Hassan can make it. He's like, well, Ali Hassan lives 10 minutes away from the studio. And I was like, okay, cool, but he's going to come through. And then Dinesh sends me like a photo of like 4 screens that he's looking at, like as if you I should feel bad for him.
You should feel guilty. I was going for the sympathy picture right there.
And then he just writes, okay, I'll be there. I read it, didn't even respond. He's like, okay, I'll be there. So
what were the 4 screens? What were on the
That's how I work. I have screens everywhere.
In your home? This is home office?
Yeah.
I remember seeing it. It's pretty intense. You got like a 3-screen setup.
Yeah, because I'm doing like 4 different things at once, and I keep each screen on what my thought process is, and I have to kind of do each on each. You know?
That's why your eyes look the way they do.
They do.
Very intense.
Yeah.
Very focused.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm getting some insight. Yeah.
You're getting
We're
it?
peeking behind the Sachdev curtain over here.
That's
Oh,
totally it.
There we go. I've been asked by Wasim because he's running late that he won't he wants to do the Netflix topic at the end. So,
Okay.
so that's fine.
So we're switching it up.
We're gonna
All
switch
right,
it up
showbiz.
because the reason is also I feel like the Netflix topic will tie in well to our segment later when we talk about the film festival.
Sure.
But let's see what we can talk about. Let's talk about Black Friday.
All right.
So Black Friday just took place. There was an article actually that came out from the CBC. Just to promote Ali a little bit. So
I am not the CBC.
Yeah,
I just
he's
want
just-
people to know that.
Yes.
But you are on the CBC on your own terms though, which is
I
kind
am.
of cool.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of
Yeah.
people like that, so that's awesome.
I get a lot of, dude, you're everywhere. But there's no hint of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. They just leave me wondering, like, am I intruding on your personal space or are you happy? I never know. So anyway, yes, I do get a lot of work.
So a new survey suggests that 43% of Canadians are now shopping on Black Friday versus the 34% they used to on Boxing Day. So Black Friday has officially exceeded Boxing Day, and we ended up taking Black Friday from our U.S. counterparts. I believe this kind of happened during the recession time. I think a lot of U.S. people that were struggling with their money ended up coming more to Canada, and Canada noticed, during this end of November time period, more U.S. people are coming over. Maybe we should start offering deals. And then there was also an influx of Canadians that would go to like Detroit and Buffalo and some of these border towns to do some shopping. But first and foremost,
Don't forget Mission. You can't forget Mission in Abbotsford. You know?
I can't forget that as well.
We tried to, but you can't. You can't. Thanks for giving them the props.
Yeah, no,
that
I think that's the
so
first
rarely
mission.
get. Yeah.
First mission shout out here on the show. But just wanted to get your thoughts and what your theory is on Black Friday in Canada, and just overall, like, did you guys buy anything this past Friday? Was there anything that you were looking for that you were able to get, or was it just a regular day and you don't know what the hoopla is all about? And maybe Ali will begin with you.
Well, it's a conversation about privilege in a way. For me, because Black Friday is a gimmick. That's what it is. It's a gimmick. It's created out of nowhere. It's rooted in nothing. So it was a sales gimmick that started in the U.S., and those roots of how it came to Canada, and now it's full on in Canada. And they're trying to, retailers in Europe are also. I was watching a soccer game in Europe too. Yeah, Black Friday sales in Europe. Napoli versus Bologna, and you see in the back, Black Friday flashing. And Europe is there are elements that are actively trying to reject it because it is in general less consumerist over there, and they don't want sort of those influences. But it's a conversation about privilege because I don't need Black Friday in my life. I don't want it in my life, and I'm lucky enough to not need it in my life. But I also can't take a crap on people who do need that. There are people who definitely need sales, deep discounted sales on products to be able to afford them.
Especially because we're less than a month away from Christmas.
Sure.
I know a lot of people that they did all their Christmas shopping this weekend. They're like, if everything's on sale,
and that's almost commendable. I mean, now you're a well prepared person who's getting things done ahead of time. I mean, I can't slag
I think it
somebody for
reduces
being
the
that.
stress. And Cyber Monday coming tomorrow, which is like the offshoot of what Black Friday was.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the etymology of Boxing Day is dying, and the fact that Black Friday, I like that it's come to Canada and it's taken over, because I think Boxing Day is a sort of a terrible thought process, and the way it started from.
Well, as a Muslim, I like that Boxing Day and Boxing Week. I don't need to give anybody a gift on the 25th.
Right.
So I can comfort. Now the benefit for me is to go in that week. It's more casual. People are either online or absent from stores. It's good.
And to your point, the amount of times that I used to get all my Christmas gifts defaulted to Boxing Day as a kid was quite regular.
Sure. Well, I've told this story many times, but it's like an interesting amalgamation of Canadian and South Asian culture. My mother-in-law is the type of woman who never wanted her kids to feel like left out in any way. So, in January, all the kids go back to school, and it's like, what'd you get for Christmas? What'd you get for Christmas? So my in-laws set up a Christmas effectively, but what it is everything is New Year's. So it's not a Christmas tree, it's a New Year's tree.
Nice.
You don't open your Christmas gifts, you open your New Year's gifts. So everything is on New Year's. And it's had a couple of different effects. Number one is that all 4 kids are almost always home on New Year's Eve. They're not out at loser parties in line at 11:30 being like, I hope I get in, bottle service and all that. They're at home. They're enjoying New Year's at home. Everybody wakes up and it's gifts. The gifts at midnight, actually. On New Year's. So it's interesting that way. And all my friends hear that go, man, your mother-in-law is a genius. It's all Boxing Day sales she benefits from and then buys those and puts them under the tree. I don't think that was an influencing factor, but for sure she would be.
Oh, yeah.
She's actually a hyper-prepared woman, so she's probably shopping right now.
So regardless of you guys opening presents on New Year's Eve, chances are she's probably already bought them.
Yeah, probably. Probably there's a couple of closets that are full of presents. We just had a new baby in the house. My sister-in-law had a baby.
Congrats.
Congrats,
That
man.
kid's going to be like dressed in all the latest fashion.
I
even
bet.
though he won't even be a month old. You know the deal.
I can definitely relate with the new baby in my household
Yeah.
too. Yeah, definitely gonna get spoiled. Dinesh, you were going to say something.
Well, it's an accounting thing, right? The whole idea of all this is for accountants to get out of the red and into the black, right?
Totally.
So I like the Black Friday because what's the beginning of Boxing Day? Where did it all start from? It started from England. The bourgeoisie would give all their servants the day off at the day after Christmas and put things in a box and give it to their servants. And I think we need to end that thought process and get rid of it in its entirety.
You're probably one of 7 people in this entire country who knows that thought process. So I think we're already on the way to ending it. I don't think you need to get out there with signs or anything.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Well, with our next subject that's coming up, it's exactly that. We should start ending these sort of
Archaic.
colonial sort of thought process.
Sure. I love it. I love what you're saying.
I had no idea that was the origin of Boxing
Well,
Day.
there you go.
Wow.
Right?
Well, it's good that one person's doing their research before the show. I think that's helpful, right? It makes for a good conversation.
Right.
He was late, but he's got his research on
That's
point.
probably why he was late. He was trying to ease up on his Boxing Day trivia. So to the point where, Ali, you said you don't like Black Friday, you don't need it in your life.
Yeah.
And then, Dinesh, did you buy anything on Black Friday?
Yeah, I got an NBA championship shirt
Wow.
because I didn't want to pay for it full price at $75.
Classic
And I
hardcore
got it-
Raptors fan.
and I got it for like
and you
20
were one of the champions. A lot of the Raptors were speaking about your support as
It's true. I was
instrumental
in the parade.
to,
I was
yeah,
at
of course.
many of the events. I was at most of the playoff games,
Yeah, he was.
and I'm in it to win it.
You're in it.
and we won it. And I also got a championship hat.
Really?
Yeah.
So all those were on sale.
Crazy deep discounts.
Really?
Did you have to leave your home? This was all online.
In all fairness, it was delegated to a person in my household, and that person.
Which, if you know how many people were in his household, it's just Dinesh and his wife.
Yes.
Right. And through that delegation, I received the items that I was looking
Nice.
for.
Nice.
Unbelievable.
I love the fact
What an
that
oppressive. Never mind colonialism. What about this oppression? What about the domestic abuse that you're alluding to? Let's stop
but
that too.
I just love the fact that you are a diehard Raptors fan, but you bought all your championship merch on Black Friday.
And not
weekend.
even yourself. I can't be seen doing this. Sonia. I can't be seen doing this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I also bought a lot. I bought my daughter stuff because
Of
we
course.
need stuff, and then I bought myself. Adidas had a really good sale, so I decided to buy shoes, and then I bought my wife something too because she deserves it. And I think my brother had bought a bunch of stuff as well. Like he was looking for a camera. I think. What were you looking
Yep,
for?
and he's probably using it right
That's
now.
on brand?
No, he couldn't find it apparently. And it was on sale. So.
I'm going to check out tomorrow and see what happens tomorrow. There
and
might be
that's-
some stuff tomorrow.
And that's my thing too. Is like these sales are never for a day. Like they're for weeks. Weeks on
Well,
end.
that's the gimmicky part of it. Like, it's like, come on. Oh, you're just trying to squeeze every single bit of, right? The Air Canada and WestJet are right till midnight Sunday. Like, the Friday means nothing anymore. It's the week before. It's as much, I have a problem with, commerce, like the type of commerce we do to begin with. But you name drop Future Shop. Some of your listeners may not know.
No.
Some of the young'uns may not know.
and
I
they used to have
work at
better
Future
deals
Shop.
than Best Buy.
You worked at Future
I used to work
Shop.
at Future Shop, and
Really?
it was
Which location?
first-hand view in the West Island of Montreal.
Okay, cool.
It was a first-hand look at the worst of humanity, the absolute worst of it. People would
And you were
knock a
part of it
senior.
because you probably had to do that hard sales and
Yeah.
get that
I
commission.
didn't have to talk to anybody.
Oh,
I didn't have to
really?
talk. They knew what they were coming in for.
Because
Okay.
wasn't Future Shop all commission?
No, we had a base salary.
base and
But you make the
commission.
base salary too many months in a row. They're like, do you really want to be here? And
Yeah.
then I'd be like, no, I don't. Do you think this is my first choice? I'm stuck. I have a poli-sci degree. Of course I don't want to be here.
I personally think the funniest was going on Six Buzz and seeing the differences between a 5 a.m. opening of a Best Buy on Black Friday in Canada versus a 5 a.m. opening of like whatever their big electronic retailer is in the US. And you just see like the Best Buy employees like clapping, and then you just see a line of Canadians just like looking around, like excited to be there. And in the US, everyone's just bolting, like straight savages.
We had straight savagery.
Really? Eh?
Yeah, that has shaped my my lens is colored by those experiences. I
Wow.
worked a couple of
And what were they buying,
Boxing Days,
TVs?
Boxing Days. Yeah, it's like the door crasher type of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody wants limited supply, and sure enough, Future Shop will have 15, and you can bet a senior citizen's getting elbowed in the teeth because somebody needs that $220 TV or whatever it is.
Have any of you ever done that for a product? Like, have you ever had to like scope out the location, stand in line, similar to what like
I
hypebeast culture is
delegated
now?
once.
Oh, okay.
I delegated once, so I tip my hat to Dinesh on this one. I had to work the next morning, so I couldn't go, but it was Guns N' Roses and Metallica were coming to Montreal.
Oh,
of course.
So out of the
nice.
4 of us who were going, 2 of the guys slept overnight outside the Olympic Stadium. They were one with dirt. So and that was another one, savagery. Somebody comes out, because it's all people just sleeping everywhere. So somebody comes out in the morning and goes, okay, we're going we're going to use the honor system. Hilarious. We're going to use the honor system. Who was here first? We're going to give out tickets so that everybody has a number.
my God.
Somebody runs up to her, slaps this woman's hand in the air. All the tickets go everywhere. She's like, I'm out. She just goes back in, and then
Oh,
everyone's
my
scrambling on the
God.
ground for the tickets. So my buddies we got great seats because they did some scrambling on the ground after spending the night
That's
outside.
amazing.
I remember
Original
that.
Axl Rose and Slash.
Yeah, well, it was a concert.
Was that Appetite of Destruction? Was that the album?
No, it was after Appetite for Destruction. It's a very famous concert, actually. They've reported about it around the world, where Axl Rose bailed because I think it was Kirk Hammett from Metallica burned his arm in some pyrotechnic
Wow.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they only played like 3 or 4 songs, and then Metallica was off. He had to go to the hospital.
So it became like a Guns N' Roses tour,
so-
and then Axl bailed.
And then Axl had the chance to step up and save the day, and he didn't. He was like, screw this. I don't like this. I don't like being
Crazy.
told to go on earlier than I'm supposed to.
I feel like we can do an entire show on Axl Rose.
Oh my God, we could do that concert alone. We could do a whole show because people were getting very. You have to have grown up in Quebec to fully appreciate. He starts going on about like these Japanese businessmen are coming into Indiana, and it's like all these Quebec like, hey man, November rain, man, we don't care about your stupid Indiana. Like nobody cares, just play your songs, you know.
But
And so he's lecturing the crowd, and people are like grumbling and starting to boo. And
But the Quebec market loves their heavy metal, man.
I know.
They love it.
They don't like their politics about the Japanese in 1991 and whatever else he was.
But
going
I
on about.
remember like having to stand in lines for Ticketmaster back in the day. Now it's like a lottery when a show goes on
Sure.
sale online. Like I don't think anyone does that.
No.
Actually, someone I know told me that
We could do an episode on how criminal Ticketmaster is as well. But anyway, that's another.
we should talk about
we should talk
Ticketmaster
about them.
because
The worst.
they screwed me over a bunch of times.
Yep.
But no, even I know someone that always uses Ticketmaster via the phone because for some reason it works for them versus going online. So I don't know. I guess it's all strategies. Dinesh, have you ever stood in line or like waited overnight for a product? He's
I
smiling.
don't do lineups.
Delegating
You don't do
Dinesh.
lineups.
I don't do lineups.
It's funny because you seem like the kind of guy that would do it. That you would do it. You'd stay up on, and you wouldn't even sleep. You just would like chit chat with whoever is in line.
I
get your
learned
thing
it
and
in
peace
early.
out.
Here's the origin story. I did one lineup.
For
okay?
what? For what?
Okay. Did one lineup when I was a young man, must have been 9 or 10 years old, and I vowed, and I waited all day, and I vowed never to wait in line after that. And that was in a mall somewhere, I don't know, I want to say Burlington, because my parents had a store that they used to, it was a flea market called Novelty Gifts, and we used to go from place to place and open up our store, pop-ups and pop down. And in this mall that we were in, at a record shop, I forget which one it was probably Sam's.
Sam's the record man.
Yeah, I'm aging
Nice.
myself every
Nice.
moment I speak. And
I still know what all
I
these are.
waited in line to get the autographs of Honeymoon Suite.
Amazing.
Who is that?
Oh, that's great. What's Honeymoon? You're a strange man. No, what's Honeymoon Suite? Is
I can't even remember.
You can't even remember
now.
the song.
But I remember when they come on the radio.
Actually, Ali, if you find a song, just play it over your mic.
I vowed never to wait in line afterwards. So
But you got your autograph. It's not the story ends.
I did
when I was in first year university. I did wait in line for a laptop at Best Buy on Boxing Day.
Oh yeah.
And then I think I did wait in line for my first pair of Beats headphones, but it wasn't like I was outside. It was a long banker's line in the Best Buy itself that when I got there at 5 a.m. Oh, is that the track?
It's the track.
Let's see it.
They have ads before it. That's how popular Honeymoon Suite is.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see it. All right. I'm excited to hear this. Honeymoon Suite. This is what Dinesh stood in line for.
What song is it, Dinesh? No, New Girl Now.
New Girl Now.
And she's a lot like you.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Now, why would you? It makes no sense that you would. Do we have the rights to play that? Are we getting sued
We
for
played
that?
less than 5 seconds. I think
Honestly,
it'll be
there
fine.
you go. Yeah, no, I'm
And then
sure we're okay.
around the same time, there was a lineup, but it wasn't for a purchase. We had to, at Williams Parkway in Brampton, we had to wait in line to pick the band piece that you wanted to play for the next 7 years. And it was based on that one lineup.
Wow, 7.
Yes. And I got stuck with the trumpet that I could never play, and I wanted to play the drums, and there was only 4 drummers that were
I
picked.
got to play the drums in my grade 7 band.
Why are you going to rub salt in his wounds?
Definitely
I
not
played
good,
the
though.
trumpet for 2 years.
Yeah, me
Sucked.
too. Me too.
Sucked.
Terrible.
I'm like, how can something that looks so easy?
You seem like you'd be a good trumpet player, though.
I got
So
the
grade
lips
7 and
so far. 10 and 11.
See, I played 7 and 8, and then grade 9 I moved to the trombone, and I was just like, this is it.
you were like a trombone
and
guy.
I never got to play the drums, only at home, because I had a kid at home. Wouldn't you want to give the kid that's got a kid at home but they didn't.
Yeah.
What do you mean
That's
you had
okay.
a kid at home?
I had a kit.
A kid.
kid. I thought I
was
heard
like,
kid too.
A kit.
I was
a drum
like,
kit.
Wait, did grade 8 Dinesh have a child that we don't know about?
That's what
that he
I thought.
doesn't
kit.
speak
Drum
about?
kit.
I was gonna say, well,
Yeah.
you probably had a dole at home too, right?
We had everything percussion at home. My brother was a drummer, so we were into Neil Peart, Rush, and
Nice.
we used to play YYZ.
Do you know who Rush is? How bad is
course.
it?
Of course.
But do you know YYZ 12-minute, 4-minute interlude by Neil Peart, one of the best drum interludes in
Every drummer
ever?
recognizes this man as like
the best ever of all time.
Well, Geddy Lee, the lead singer, is awesome. So.
Yeah, he's a
Yes.
big Blue Jays fan. That's why I like
Is
him.
he actually? Nice. What's your theory on Black Friday and where you see it going in the future? Like, as in the popularity in Canada. Do you think this will forever become sort of a part of our culture?
It's not going anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah?
I think it's
Yeah.
only on the rise. There's a surprising element that people, I think people who are naturally last minuters are being pulled into the appeal of Black Friday and becoming like super. What's the opposite of last minuting? Like a super
Being on
prepared.
time?
Yeah, Type A.
They're becoming Type A because of Black Friday, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it probably gives you a little. I know that when I'm prepared, instead of last minuting, I get a little bit of a
Last
adrenaline
That's awesome.
boost. I'm so super proud of myself. You feel the reward of your own actions, and then you keep doing it year after year. I imagine. So I can't imagine. I can see this, and deals. Look, politicians have been voted in just on. I'm going to save you.
X amount of dollars.
Well, it's like $60. Rob Ford was going to save us was it a vehicle emissions test or so? I can't remember what it was. I just moved here. I wasn't even able to vote yet, and it was like $60.
Wow.
Got him so many votes, mostly from our people. Everybody likes a deal in our community.
Yeah, especially because, and part of my day job, I actually work for a hard discounter. Part of it has to do with the fact that a lot more people are looking to save money so they can put money towards other things like experiences or time with their family or entertainment.
I mean, that's painting a very idyllic picture of the world around us.
Yeah, definitely generalizing, but
those people are great.
Yeah.
Those people are great. I think it's mostly savages who are coming out to like, I got to get the deal, man.
Yeah, I know.
But no, if you're my wife has turned me on to this financial podcast, and at first I would say I was listening, but I wasn't actually listening. She would, which episode did you? Yeah, the call in. There was some guy. He was talking about 401ks. I'm just using U.S. buzzwords that I know. Then I started listening, and it's had zero impact on my life. But it's one of those things. You know, people who they watch the Food Network, but they never cook. They're like, if called upon, if ever need be, I know that I can jump. I'm starting to get that. I'm starting to be like, okay, I'm not an everyday millionaire. I'm not an everyday millionaire, but I know what an everyday millionaire is. And if I just did these 2-3 things, I'd get there. Yeah.
Dinesh, what about you, man? What's your theory on Black Friday? Do you see it going anywhere?
I think it's going to be a fight now. A fight between Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Boxing Day.
Okay.
And the numbers are going to show which ones is going to succeed. Supposedly, and correct me if my numbers are wrong, but this Black Friday in the U.S. was estimated at $1.1 trillion in sales by Americans, and that is the most ever.
And is that combined online and in store?
Good question.
I'm guessing it probably is.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think it's the entire transaction that's going. And the numbers are going to prove it, right? And I think it's a great success for retailers and shoppers.
Yeah.
He's just reading off a screen right now, guys. He doesn't know that.
Lauren Paddleford is currently being interviewed, the GM of Shopify Plus, and he says that Black Friday was a great success.
Yeah.
And
they plan for it. I don't know, they've already made their money for the year, and I think they plan for it, and they know that shoppers are going to come, and the numbers are all trending the right way, and it's creating a society of type A's, and I think getting it all done in advance makes you. What it's really doing, though, it's killing those retailers over the long term.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. On a selfish note, I'm happier from the perspective as a guy who likes to go and touch things and feel them and buy in person. Less people in the mall, great news. Great news.
Well, because to your point, Dinesh, earlier about getting out of the red, like Boxing Day for a lot of retailers was used to get out of the red, but to also get rid of Christmas stuff, used to get rid of just stuff that maybe they had overbought for the holiday season. Now you're overbuying a couple weeks before the holidays. That stuff doesn't sell through. You're kind of just sitting with it, and you have to further discount it, and then you start losing more money. So, no, I think that's a fair point. But to agree with the both of you, I agree. I think Black Friday's not going to go anywhere. I see a lot more people sort of in my network that were excited about Black Friday, were posting about it, were, sending out websites that had the best deals listed. And I think now it's just a part of the shopping ritual in Canada.
And what is the etymology of Black Friday? It was the day that caused traffic and violence the day after Thanksgiving.
Wow,
and that's why it was
really?
dubbed Black Friday.
He knows all that pop culture stuff. I love it.
Yeah, I thought it had to do with getting out of the red.
It became that.
Okay.
It became that, but the original in the 1950s.
Black like a black eye type of thing?
Yeah,
like,
no, they just called it by so much
the
traffic.
The darkness of that day. Okay. Oh, wow.
Interesting. There was a chat once I had with Dinesh, and he's like huffing and puffing like over the phone. I'm like, hey, you all good? He's like, no, man, I'm just on the elliptical. And I was like,
that's good.
I was like, wow. And he's like, yeah, man, just gotta take it seriously now. Just gotta commit, gotta do it. And then he made me go to the elliptical after.
Yeah,
because
a few years ago it was like you called Dinesh, he's huffing and puffing. Like, you all right? Yeah, I'm just walking on flat Spadina Avenue, and during the break, we talked about how fat shaming should be a thing of the past, and here I am back into it. But I get that a lot. People should know that I'm overweight by about 30 pounds. No, but I'm having fun with this.
You're one of the reasons why I did the keto diet for a while, though. Because remember when you and I met up for chicken wings?
Not keto. It was Whole30, but yeah, it's similar principles where you cut out certain things.
Yeah,
you're not getting into ketosis, but you're. Yeah, the Whole30, I did it in September. I did it for 6 weeks, all of September till the middle of October. And that person, I don't even know who that guy was.
Really?
Yeah, we've fallen very far. Well, I was a month-long tour with a Newfoundlander, Was
that with Dave Murgy?
Merhej is the pronunciation, and no is the answer. It was Rick Mercer, Newfoundlander, Rick Mercer. Yeah.
Big deal. Just you to go on tour with Rick Mercer.
And a couple other people, but Rick is like a Newfoundlander. I don't know if you ever drank with Newfoundlanders. Like I'd be like, are you having a drink right now? It's noon. We got a show tonight. He goes, no, I'm just having white wine. Like, it doesn't count, like those type of, the guys who are like, I'm just Just drinking wine. I'm not drinking. Right?
I do want to apologize to Dave for mispronouncing his name, but he is a funny comedian, though.
He's terrific. He and I are we're doing a show in Toronto, December 28th.
Oh,
He's
really?
going to be back from New York. Yeah.
Awesome.
He's on the second season of a show called Rami right now. If anybody has got Crave, Rami's just an absolutely terrific show. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Yeah, Rami's great.
I'm going to get on it.
Crave is killing the content game right now. They're doing a lot of great things on Crave.
There's a lot of great stuff out there right now.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
And that would have been a great segue to the content topic, but Wasim wants to...
We'll put it on pause.
Yeah, put it on pause. But let's talk about hockey, because Ali Hassan...
No segues required, man.
Yeah.
Get right into it. We're in Canada. You can talk about hockey anytime you want.
It's true.
Anytime.
It's true.
And Dinesh, are you a Leafs fan? You are, right?
I am, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, you are.
Yes.
And then, are you happy with Sheldon?
I'm not, but I'm going to get used to it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't
cool.
have a choice.
Were you a Babs fan?
I was a Babs fan. Well, my thought process is the guy who's got the rings and the guy who's got the medals, I think you put your trust into him.
I like that. That's a there's nothing wrong at all with that thought process, but
Sorry, I think our guest just arrived, but he has to take off his shoes first. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
the theories are the prevailing theories now are that his system didn't work for this particular group of people. So
That's what I've heard too.
right? So
Yes, he's not following the Corsi thought process and philosophy.
and who is Corsi and what have they done?
Corsi is so Kyle Dubas implements analytics.
Yes, right.
And the analytics that he follows is the Corsi. It's the Corsi theory, and essentially, to break it down, to simplify it is about puck possession. The more you hold on to the puck, the higher the percentage of you winning a game.
You love big data and the role plays in sports.
Well, it's that classic Wayne Gretzky quote: "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." Right?
That's
so
right.
it's just that, but on steroids. It's a glorified version of
Correct.
of that.
And it's essentially a game of keep away the whole time.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, guys. We just had our special guest just join us. He's just going to get settled in.
It's Mike Babcock, actually. This is unbelievable. We were just talking about you, Mike. And,
I told you guys we'll have someone big join the show.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. And Ali, you were in a movie called Breakaway.
Yeah.
Playing
You were.
a South
I remember
Asian
you in that. That was
Yeah.
great.
hockey star.
That is the most
A Speedy Singh.
That is the most tenuous connection that you could make to the Leafs right now, or actual hockey. I had a stunt guy. I had a stunt man.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, a stunt player.
Really? Wait, you didn't play your own hockey in the movie?
I like for a month. I'm on the ice. I'm like doing my own drills. I'm like, I gotta sharpen up these skates every week. And then I get there and they class. It wasn't it wasn't the most organized set. So we were told the day of that. Yeah, you don't have to. We're going to have somebody else do a lot of your stuff.
Well, another big hockey fan who just joined us in studio. He is a former producer for Rogers TV, currently still behind the boards for other big networks that I think I may have named it earlier, but I won't name it again. It is our main man, no stranger to Saga 960, because you've been here a bunch of times. It is Wasim the Dream Parkar. Wasim, what's going on?
Hey, man, not doing bad at all. I feel like I've made the big leagues now that I've joined your show on Saga 960.
Is that a shot to Ryan?
Love Ryan Gurcharan, but I've made it finally.
Awesome. Thanks for getting through the weather too. How bad was it?
Oh man, it was bad.
It was bad? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm glad that you're here in one piece.
Yeah, there was no parking either, so I had to walk further just for you. Actually,
thank
mostly
you.
just for Ali Hassan.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have a nickname.
Yeah.
Dinesh the Delegator, Wasim the Dream. We need something
We'll
before
come
the
up with
end of the
something.
show.
By the end of
huh?
this show, we'll have one.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But okay,
Stuntman Hassan, huh? It's got a ring to it.
Maybe. A little bit.
I don't do any
I'll go
stunts.
with diplomat. Diplomat Hassan.
Diplomat.
Yeah.
I like
Think about
that.
this, man. How many people can pull off being the ambassador of a fake country? And then on top of that, out-negotiate Kiefer Sutherland. So I'm going with Diplomat Hassan.
Designated Survivor reference.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
reference
there you
to a
go.
show called Designated Survivor, and that is
Good
one of the
reference,
most
Wasim. Good
nervous
reference.
audition rooms I've ever seen.
Was Kiefer in the room?
Kiefer's not in the room, but
Yeah.
people are like, this could make my career. And it was like, you could feel the nerves. It was like, I was like, I got to get out of here. So I just was in the
Were you
hallway.
just hanging out with Cal Penn the entire time? or-
No, Cal wasn't on any of my scenes. I met him at the end. I said, I said hi to him from a guy that he knows from many years ago, and Cal barely remembered the name.
But kudos to Cal, because that show was from the Toronto, right? So Cal was like hanging out at like random like a lot of my friends that are comedians, like Cal would just show up, and like I think it was the show that Ernie Vicente does at 120 Diner.
Sure.
Yeah. I think Cal did karaoke one night, just randomly,
amazing.
which
That's
is kind of
great.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get right into the topic then, because I want to get all three of your perspectives on it. This week, former head coach now of the Calgary Flames, Bill Peters, was accused. Well, now he's gone, completely gone. He quit over allegations of him using racist language over a decade ago while coaching a minor league team. It was actually an ex-player, Akeem Alou, who actually came out and said that Mr. Peters had used derogatory terms against him when he was coaching the Rockford Ice Dogs. This story, along with the Don Cherry stuff that took place a few weeks ago, there's a bit of a microscope on hockey, but I feel like now there's a deeper microscope on just sports in general.
And even Babs hazing Marner, too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It all came to happen in, a 3-week span.
But, the angle I want to take here is
That's
more...
a story that I care much less about. But anyway. Yeah.
No, but
when you're talking about racism in the league, and then you're talking about
it's almost...
Is it like the old guard almost? Is that where you're trying to go?
It is. The old thought, the old process, the old way of doing things is all going to change.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm not the one, everyone's saying it, this is NHL's Me Too movement.
I think so.
This is the time that they're going to make a change, and you're going to see a wave of things happen now.
But to take this even deeper, I think I flipped all three of you an article that I believe the Toronto Star came out with, talking about race in hockey, specifically in Canada, and it goes even deeper to like the Indigenous population.
Well, I was going to bring that topic up because Ted Nolan talked about it with the Sabres so many years ago, and Chichu talked about it many years ago, but nobody listened, especially Nolan, who was top of his game. He brought the Sabres to like Eastern Conference Finals, and Ted Nolan is well loved, but still can't stay in the NHL right now.
It's horrible.
Because
it's been 15 years or something.
No, he came back once, and then he went out again, and then he went to Europe, and they love him in Europe.
Really?
Yeah. But Nolan's the guy that is the first guy that kind of blew the whistle, but nobody heard that whistle.
So you got this old guard now that's under a microscope. You're seeing all these racial situations popping up over the last couple of years. Who knows? It might still be in existence now. What's your theory on what happens here? Like, what's your theory on where this goes?
Of course it happens now, brother. Of course it happens now. You're in like Lethbridge, Alberta.
Yeah.
You have you feel a real freedom probably as a bunch of white losers in the stand yelling the N-word at some dude. It's all about a discomfort with people who you know nothing about. So you see Indigenous people, see black people, brown people, and still to this day, this is happening. You look at stories from Georges Larocque and even going back to Grant Fuhr, any of these guys, P.K. Subban went through this.
He did.
P.K. Subban, probably all the Subban brothers did, and they're tougher players as a result of it, but also it shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And right now, I was infuriated by this story. This whole week, how long does this investigation need to take? If it was a player, it would have been 24 hours and it would have been done.
That's right. But it's money. It's money.
It is money, but it's also old rich white men protecting each other. There was no racism involved, but Brian Burke used to do the same thing with Ron Wilson. People were like, please fire Ron Wilson. You need to. And because they're homies, they have dinner together at each other's homes. They protect each other. They're like, no, you're good here. This is just that, but it's like, it's just old rich white people who don't care about fans, who don't care about players. They just care about money, as you said. It boils down to money, and it was an infuriating week. And Burke, that piece of garbage, also had to mention, I think he was, there is talk that he was not disruptive, but he was a troublemaker in the room, Akeem Aliu, this player in question.
Of course.
And it didn't serve his argument. There was absolutely no reason for him to talk about that.
It's very reminiscent, and maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but the Donald Sterling incident with the LA Clippers.
Absolutely.
And just like some of the comments around there about, obviously that phone call was released to the public, but you had that same racial, good old boys club kind of, out behind closed doors, really exposing themselves
Sure.
in regards to how they really feel. Wasim, what are your thoughts? Because you are a big soccer guy. You used to do a lot of soccer commentary for Sportsnet.
What?
Did you? Did you write articles? No.
I wish I did.
He
But
did on my
you guys-
phone though.
yeah.
Wasim used to call me and
But-
give me all this.
No,
On
But
that
your
theme,
YouTube,
good
your
luck. Good luck with a person with my accent being a commentator on a sport in North America. It's not happening.
What do you mean, man?
Unless I do it in
Soccer
Punjabi.
No, but what's your take on the story and what's your theories on it?
Honestly, man, I still haven't even recovered from the Don Cherry
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
this just. I haven't had the time to process this one properly. In all honesty, I think what Dinesh and Ali said made a lot of sense to me. I don't have anything else to add. It just continues that theme, right? That rich white people can get away with saying a lot of stuff without facing the right consequences. It just continues that theme, right? And I like even the Don Cherry thing. So many people were divisive about it. I've met people like decent people in any walk of life, I would say acquaintances, not friends, who are like, oh, I can see what Don Cherry is saying. And, like, you know, unless we don't tackle that at its root,
It's going to continue.
it's going to continue. That's what I feel. And sometimes it's like, how, like I want to get into an argument with these people, but I can't collect my thoughts and I don't want to come across as angry. But I mean, surely sometimes you should just be allowed to get angry at racist people. Am I making sense?
Yeah. That is uncalled for. See, how dare you? How dare you? But yeah, why would that be even an issue?
Yeah.
It's, you know, in comedy, we're seeing the same thing where you have like these well-established millionaire comedians who are like, oh, you can't say anything these days.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Everyone's
dude,
soft.
you're a millionaire
Yeah, I know.
on a
It's-
microphone
it's such a privilege.
telling
Such a-
people how you can't say anything. Do you not see the irony of this? Don Cherry is 80 years old. 25-year plus he's made a career of, I'm from Quebec, man, how much he would crap on Quebecers and then deliberately mispronounce European players. He's just an old man who cannot accept
And
change.
there was actually an interview, I think, from 1990 that had just popped up after the Don Cherry stuff. It's like, I forgot what the interview, who conducted the interview, but it's with Don Cherry. And he's talking about how he's pro-Canadian and he's not a fan of these international players. And it was very much in the same vein of the comments that he made a few weeks ago. And that was 1990 and no one flagged it. No one said anything. No one's like, oh, okay, it's very slapstick. That's just his brand. He's just somebody that is outspoken. But this may be a...
Like one of the inobjective things sometimes also when these idiots speak is we're sort of unfortunately deprived of really good debate.
Yeah.
Right? But I think the whole Remembrance Day poppy thing, I think there's a lot of room for nuance in that. You know, you can be a patriotic Canadian, but not maybe look at World War II and World War I favorably.
Yeah.
You know, you could care for your veterans, but at the same time not celebrate those wars and not buy this concept without thinking about, oh, they fought for our freedom. Because you got to think about a lot of these countries, even the winning teams, so-called the victors in World War II and World War I, when those wars ended, they had a lot of colonies. So freedom for whom? Freedom for like white countries?
Yeah.
Because, you know, Britain had a lot of colonies at that time and Canada was an ally of Britain.
Compelling.
It's an excellent point because even in the last 15 years, George Bush, under George Bush Jr., it's us versus them. Either you're a patriot or you're not. Either you support the troops or you're against the troops, and leaving no room for nuance.
Yeah.
And many Americans bought into that. And so we've seen it historically, and we've even seen it very, very recently.
Yeah.
That it's this us against them thing. And no, absolutely, you can say like this war is unjust, but you can still support the human lives of these. And in America, a lot of people who are in the military do so because they have no other options. You know, so it's a dirty situation all around. We were sitting, Rick Mercer and I were sitting in Calgary the day after this whole thing with Don Cherry.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in a Starbucks in a hotel lobby in Calgary. And Rick, I thought he just wasn't interested in what I was saying. I'm talking to him and his eyes keep drifting. So later he tells me, he goes, when we were talking in that Starbucks, every time the door opened, I went and I looked, poppy or no poppy. And he goes, the vast majority of people in that Starbucks were white men, and not one of them, not one of them was wearing a poppy. And this is after, like that was 11. That was November 11th. It was Remembrance Day. And the Don Cherry thing had just happened.
Oh, God.
And you should have been shamed into wearing it. If if I was a white guy, I'd be like, I should probably put this on. I should probably dust this thing off and put it on today of all days. No, not on the 11th and not as a white person. So it was really like completely misguided and just a bunch of nonsense.
Just to bring this back to racism in hockey, how much of this is like locker room slapstick talk, like type talk? Like how much of this is, for example, I think about some of the jokes that are made, across different sports teams as you're growing up, or when you're part of different leagues. Like people will, call someone out based on their color, but people wouldn't take it seriously because it's like almost like fun and games type of thing. And I'm just wondering, like, how much of this is really exposing what actually happens, in locker rooms regarding some of the hazing and some of the actual comments that are being made when it comes to these players and the interactions they have with fellow teammates and coaches.
Well, I think Dinesh touched on you said it right out at the beginning. This is the Me Too thing for hockey, and its time has come. And I would say its time was a long time ago, but you need sort of society to sort of come along. Right?
Well,
we're seeing this in everything.
It's a social economic change amongst people of color who now feel as though they've got some money that they can actually say something. And I think that is the shift, because them having the money equating to some power it has empowered them to say what they feel and not worry about their status going down. And I think that is the real ultimate shift, and you're seeing it all over the place.
Well, so tell me this then. A lot of the men are like, you can't say anything these days. I told a rape joke, everybody got their back up. You used to be able to tell a good rape joke.
Yeah.
So is that socioeconomic? Have women done better and have a more of a voice because of money? I've never considered that.
Absolutely, because now it's gone from 63 cents to 75 cents to the dollar that women can make, and that's exactly what has happened. It's a typical proletariat bourgeoisie Marxist philosophy where we are seeing a change, a paradigm shift for those people who are gaining more power, more influence, and it all comes back to money.
Wow.
Always comes back to money.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, but I'm glad. Now the
part of you must wish that it came down to decency. But money.
But decency hasn't been there
ever.
Before the last 4 years.
It does seem like in these situations, the bottom line is what's sort of the main factor as to why actions haven't been taken. Like, even think about the NFL, right? You think about Kaepernick. Like, one of the reasons why he wasn't put on a team, he's still not on a team, is because the team's probably worried about the financial implications, even though they're probably pretty positive. But
well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, the best, once he was out of the league, it was the best-selling jersey in the entire NFL.
Totally, yeah.
All his merch is being, gobbled up, which is the most offensive thing, that he's still making money for this league, even though they won't allow him to play in it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The Kaepernick thing is another thing.
You don't even watch football anymore because of that.
Yeah,
right?
no, I don't.
I used to text you and ask you, are you watching this? Are you watching that? And he was like, I'm just
not comfortable with that league. Look, the NHL doesn't care about us as fans either, let's be honest, if we would really want to break that down. The 2 times that I've lived through NHL strikes was clear that you don't care about fans. Like, it's irrelevant to you. The Montreal Canadiens have the worst attendance ever. They're not lowering their prices. They're not working hard to get people. They just don't care about fans.
Right.
Fine. But the NFL is a different thing. The NFL is turning a blind eye to rape, domestic abuse, murder in certain cases. There's 2 guys who are like in prison, and the NFL just washes his hands out of all of it.
They're no associate.
I mean, what's that guy from the Vikings who beat his son with a switch? I can't remember. All the names are leaving my mind.
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick is another thing with the dog betting on dog fighting. So it's like, how many things do you need? And the NFL doesn't own up to any of it. They just wash their hands and go, well, we don't know anything about that. I just thought Kaepernick was just the worst thing, because it was all these teams. And one of them is a Pakistani, for God's sake, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shahid Khan also had to just sort of be like, listen, I'm fine with you.
His son, Tony Khan, owns All Elite Wrestling now, too.
Yeah.
Started his own wrestling company, owns the Fordham Soccer Club. Yeah, the Khans are all over the place when it comes to just sports. But to your point, like, you don't see them coming out necessarily. And
they probably can't. They're probably in, we can't be like, if I was them, I would have done. I know enough about this world to know that if you're not in somebody's position, you really don't know how you would act, right? But it just goes to show like how muzzled everybody's been. This is the line. The president is involved.
So what happens? So what happens next? You think? Like, you think you're going to see more of these situations similar to the Peter situation, where people are just going to get removed, and hopefully that's going to create progression?
You're going to mark this past week as the changing
TSN turning point.
That's right.
Of the of hockey as a whole.
As a whole.
And I think the Don Cherry. I was going to tweet. The other day, and I was like, no, it's going to come off bad. I can't even fat shame a friend anymore. You know what I mean? But I was going to tweet. God, if only Don Cherry was around and we could find out what he thinks about this Bill Peters situation. I was going to just sarcastically do that. I'm like, I don't know if my sarcasm is going to come across and all that.
You should have done it. You should go with your gut.
Is it too, as a comedian, is it are Don Cherry jokes still off limits? Like, do you got to wait a couple weeks?
It's off limit. It looks like I'm completely reducing Akeem Aliou's experience into a joke, and I didn't want to do that. You know, I didn't want to be like just whatever you want to call it, reductive.
For individuals that I sent the topics through this morning, Dinesh did the most research. Ali did none, but he's still doing pretty good. And then Wasim called me out on it, saying, how could you let me be so unprepared? But, this next topic is one that you said that you would be prepared to talk about. So The Irishman just got released on Netflix. It is the Martin Scorsese film that stars Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino, the legends, like Casino, as well as, Raging Bull and all the other ones that are in the Martin Scorsese universe. And what makes this movie unique, number one, is the fact that it is a Martin Scorsese movie that's on Netflix, which is Netflix paid super top dollar for it. Number two, they had a limited run in theaters, and then they put it available on streaming, which I thought was pretty interesting. And number three, the fact that Netflix just keeps blowing a lot of cash on content, and the fact that this could be sort of their foray into eventually maybe even scoring an Oscar or scoring some type of accolade. So I want to get all three of your theories on this. Dinesh, obviously you working in films. Ali, obviously you being an actor. Wasim, obviously you being an intellectual. What
That's the first no.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it's a good call.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then myself being a uninformed radio host.
Yeah.
Just want to get your perspectives on this, specifically on this rollout of a Scorsese movie, because Scorsese is still probably one of the best directors of our time. He's a total legend in the business, and the fact that he gave his motion-length picture to Netflix to put out on a streaming service, which is now probably going to get more eyes on it initially versus any other Scorsese release in the past. Do you like this rollout? Do you like the way that it's happened? Do you see more movies doing this? Obviously, with Disney Plus and the content that they're putting out, it is at that motion picture level when it comes to quality and budget. Is this going to become the norm? And maybe Dinesh, because you're the film guy, let's begin with you. What's your thoughts on the way this was put together?
Okay, so 150 million subscribers in Netflix in 2018. That's going to grow by about 10%. That's going to be about 160 to 165 this year.
Can I just give me 1 second? I want to take all this down.
Go take it all. Take it down and fact check.
Yes.
Now, out of that, 60 million in 2018 are U.S. subscribers.
Yeah.
Okay. To be having a pool of 150 million people to be able to see, let's say half of that sees your film. That is an astronomical reach.
That's very generous, though. You think half of the U.S. Netflix subscribers would watch The Irishman?
The world.
Okay, so even more ambitious. Oh,
well, okay, so it's 100. Well, okay,
20%
access
would be great.
It's
to
a
that
3.5 hour movie.
The pool. Okay, let's say the pool is 150. Okay, let's say on your first weekend it's 10%. At least you're getting 15 million eyes on the first weekend, right? You can't. You can almost guarantee those numbers where you cannot anticipate that in the theater.
Sure.
Right. That will allow Netflix is always just trying each percent to get more people on board with their subscribers. If they only have 150, I'm sure they want to have 300 million. There's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sure their goal is to get 1 billion people who ever have the internet has Netflix, and only have 60 million out of 360 million Americans. They want to grow. They want to grow their domestic reach as well.
Nav, if there's going to be math on the show in the future, don't have me on.
Yeah,
This is
same.
unbelievable. Jesus Christ.
Come on, guys.
I'm
It's
just
all
hoping
about
there's a
numbers,
point.
right?
I
The
know,
films
I'm
are
joking,
about
I'm joking.
numbers. The box office is about numbers. Now, Scorsese came out and he said that cinema is dead, right? He said
I mean,
that
they got to get these photos. He's like pointing at everybody.
he said that cinema, like the movies like Avengers, kills superhero films, kill cinema, and
that's
cinema is dying.
That's a different topic in general.
No, but this is why he has subscribed. Not only because you got Pacino and De Niro and Pesci on screen together, and not only because they actually fronted the loot. It's just the fact that he believes that because you got to understand how much he loves cinema itself, right? He spends money on creating an archive of a library that he can preserve the silver screen. So he's actually so indebted in the craft of filmmaking, he doesn't want to see it to die. Now, the fact that they took the strategy to put it in theater and then put it on Netflix, I think is an amazing strategy and should be the strategy of the future. I think they should do that with some shows. Like the last Game of Thrones show should have been on this theater. I bet you tons of people would have gone to the theater and done it. And I think the strategy of theater for the communal aspect of it, because that's really what it's about. Yes, it's big screen. Yes, you want the bigger images, but there is a communal aspect of going to the theater and experience it together. And I think that you are going to see that this will be the trend, right? That you're going to see limited time in theater, then on Netflix. Now they tried a few times to do theater and Netflix simultaneously. Doesn't work.
No, it didn't work.
Doesn't work. You need to have it exclusive for a weekend or two. Don't tell them that you're going to be able to see it in a few weeks, and then kind of make it happen.
Okay, can I address two? Number one, your passion, wonderful. This is like when I speak about Bangin' Murta. This is the type of Bangin' was does he play? But I love the passion on this subject. But there's an interesting thing here with 4 brown people in one room. This should be addressed. How many people I heard say 3.5 hours? That's so self-indulgent. And as somebody who was raised on Bollywood, I was like, is that self-indulgent? It's like, it's not a big deal.
Isn't that for the?
But there's no intermission though. You create your own intermission.
Create your own intermission, man. I used to go see 3.5 hour movies at Albion Mall when I'd come visit my girlfriend who lived here. Samosas and
little grease stains in the seat.
Yeah, it was disgusting and amazing at the same time.
Yeah.
How much of what Scorsese's doing here is connected to the fact that it's a 3.5 hour movie, this limited release, and then this Netflix thing? Is it the length of the movie? Does it have anything to do with that in your mind?
I think it has to do with. Sorry, are you asking Dinesh or me or anyone?
I was just going to ask the incredibly passionate film.
So actually, Dinesh, you share and I'll share my perspective after.
Well, long films, generally speaking, don't fare well at theaters because it's hard to schedule them.
Oh, yeah.
However, the Avengers, the last Endgame, was
Super
3
long.
hours and 10
45
minutes.
It was a good cure for insomnia.
It's a great cure for insomnia.
Yeah.
I stayed awake. I fall asleep now.
And and the opposite for UTIs, right? So
Dr. Sachdev. Op? Yeah.
I prefer Dr. D. Okay, so so I think that the length. It has nothing to do with length. I think.
Okay.
I think because Endgame, who's a multi-billion-dollar product, proved that 3 hour plus can work.
So my perspective is that you have Pacino, De Niro, and Pesci all in one movie. The last time that happened was 25 years ago. I think
For a moment in Casino?
Yeah.
No, not Casino. Heat?
Heat, yeah.
Well, not Pesci, though.
Pesci wasn't in that, right?
Actually, is
But
this the
that's
first
such a
time?
great
No,
scene.
not the first time that all 3 of them have been together.
That's
it has
right.
been.
It's the first time all
okay.
3, but De Niro and Pacino, they had 1 minute in Heat.
Yeah.
No, and they were together in Righteous Kill.
Oh, yeah.
Really bad movie.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
50 Cent was in
50
there.
Cent. 50
Yeah.
Cent.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And they were in Godfather too, but not together.
Not together, yeah.
So I feel like with this whole idea of putting it in theaters before Netflix, number one, with the way culture is, everybody wants to see something before someone else does. Like there's like the exclusivity of it. I know a lot of people that when the Irishman played at TIFF Lightbox a few weeks ago, people were there. Like, watching it, tweeting about it, being like, oh, I'll be the first to see this. And then the fact that he had all three of these legends in one movie for the very first time, directed by Scorsese, I think it made it an event. And I always look at movies as being the first real social events. Now there's all these other social events that pop up, like the Raptors championship parade, or let's go to Jurassic Park and watch the Raptors game together. Like, that was like the first time you had crowds sort of congregating over one piece of entertainment or one piece of culture. I think now with this limited release that Netflix did with The Irishman and having it in theaters a few weeks before, I think that they're trying to capitalize on that, on the fact that do you want to be the first person so you can talk about it amongst your friends before a couple weeks it comes on Netflix. Like, there's that FOMO, fear of missing out, almost social currency that you have for being able to watch it.
Some people really need that.
People strive for that. It's crazy.
I like JOMO much more.
To the guy who's actually seen the movie. JOMO is what is it?
Joy of missing out. I like that much more.
I missed out and I couldn't be proud.
He's not even on social media. I can't even tag him anymore on anything. I love it.
But you saw the movie with
Yes,
so
I did.
Can we get your take from the perspective of the one guy who's seen the movie?
Okay, so as a fan of movies, I absolutely enjoyed the experience. But I think you highlighted something that was really important. My wife's in India right now.
Can I ask you, theater or Netflix?
I watched it on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched it on Friday night.
Nice.
Yeah. So my wife's in India right now. If my wife was with me, I think some of the issues you raised would come into the equation. My wife would not want to commit to 3.5 hours.
It's a long time.
Even with De Niro and Pacino, and she likes all these legends as well. But because I was alone, I was able to watch it in one go without stopping and stuff. Great movie, no spoilers or anything like that. But I also think, and you both can correct me since you both are from the industry, I don't think every Netflix release is going to work out like this, right?
No,
I think the fact that the legends were there in this played a big part of it. For example, I don't know if you saw the trailer of the next Netflix original, the Michael Bay one with Ryan Reynolds, where they all they pretend to die but they don't actually die, and then they come and kill criminals.
Are you serious?
It's a typical Michael Bay piece of nonsense which would probably make a lot of money in the cinema, but I don't know that would get the same hype. Ryan Reynolds is in it.
It's just like
Is
when they
Ryan
released
Reynolds
that.
shirtless in it? Because if he is, then I'm seeing it.
But it's just like that Will Smith movie that they released last December. I forgot. It's like Bright. Yeah.
I forgot it even existed.
Yeah. There's all this hype.
They're making a sequel.
They are?
Yeah. Or even to touch on another thing that Ali said.
If at first you don't succeed.
Yeah. I grew up with Bollywood. I still unabashedly watch it. Like for a month, I was all principled when Modi did his Kashmir thing. I was like, I'm not watching Bollywood anymore. Yeah. Then I gave up and I started watching it again.
It's tough.
It's tough. Yeah.
Right. That's why Wasim's an intellectual.
Yeah. a lot of the Netflix Bollywood originals are terrible. They seem to release one of them every month, I watched one called House Arrest, which had another Ali in it, Ali Fazal, who's not as talented as you. To be completely clear. Yeah.
If you're not even this talented, what are you doing? What are you doing out there, right?
Yeah, he has nicer hair than you and me, both.
That's important.
That's important. They've had some series in India that have been really big breakthroughs, like Sacred Games. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's watched that.
The second season is not good. The first season I loved. The second season, I don't know.
I liked the second season too, but I agree the first season was better.
Yeah, first season was awesome. Do you know what I noticed though? Amazon Prime has a very good selection of movies. Actually,
they've already won an Oscar, right?
Yeah,
Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
Fleabag is Amazon Prime too, right? Yeah.
And what's crazy about Amazon Prime, a lot of the movies that I noticed that have been at TIFF for the last 3 years are now on Amazon Prime. So they're picking up all this content. A lot of this sort of, I don't want to call it indie content, but a lot more of the films that are made for cinephiles, people who like, the film festival style films that want to be able to watch something that has a lot of substance to it. You go on Amazon Prime, everything that, for example, the movie Gloria, I watched it last year at TIFF, didn't go anywhere, but now it's on Amazon Prime. And it's just interesting to see their strategy of wanting to sort of pick up a lot of these film festival favorites as a way to build clout for their own service.
Wasim, your issues with Modi are like my issues with Jeff Bezos, so I'm trying not to. It's getting tougher. It's getting tougher. I got to watch The Marvelous Miss Maisel on a plane. And I watched, I think it was a flight to Vancouver. I got to watch 6 episodes. Amazing
show. Tony Shalhoub.
Oh.
Yeah, Tony Shalhoub is awesome.
It is a dance. It is a dance. If you know anything about, in acting, you gotta land on your mark. You gotta make sure you're here. You gotta make sure you're this. You deliver. I mean, there are long, unedited sequences that are moving around this room. It is an incredible dance.
Awesome.
And Tony Shalhoub has talked about how much rehearsal time. It's not show up and start acting. There's rehearsals for weeks before you finally shoot.
Wow.
Amazing show. So, same thing. It's getting difficult. I'm going to have to cave on Amazon Prime soon. But I just, I hate Bezos. I hate Amazon. I was trying to sell my DVD on Amazon. And they started charging me and didn't have my DVD yet. I'm like, I'm still trying to find out how I get on and the charge. So, in the end, I had to cancel that credit card.
Oh, wow.
See, there you go. So that brings up an amazing segue into the DVD market, and something like The Irishman dies completely.
100%.
If you look at Wasim, he is a hoarder of Blu-rays and DVDs. He has a wonderful library, and for someone who collects like that,
I stopped now, obviously.
you?
But I made a big collection.
You actually gifted me 2
2014.
wrestling ones once. I remember that. It was very nice of you.
but
Someone gifted them to me. I didn't want them.
You just ruined a nice gesture.
Yeah, so
Sorry,
back
buddy.
to Boxing Day when
Oh my
you
God.
box things for the lower class. The DVD industry is essentially at its
done.
end.
It's done.
right?
Yeah.
And when I still see commercials every once in a while. Now on Blu-ray, you can watch Avengers Endgame, but who's buying
Well,
that?
it's very funny. I tour my solo show across Canada, and then I have merch. My merch is my DVD. And most people are like, why do you have a DVD? Well, my audiences are CBC listeners.
Yeah.
So 50 and older are prominently there at my shows.
That still have DVD players.
They still have DVD players.
Yeah.
So those DVDs are still, they're still moving slowly out of my garage.
And there is a market.
I'm
of people
hoping, because last year was the first year where records outsold CDs.
They did, yeah.
So I'm hoping, in my 60s, we'd be like,
Near
oh,
Renaissance.
DVDs,
Yeah.
and then I'll have a collection ready to cash in.
Then Wasim opens his duffel bag full of DVDs. No, but it's actually interesting because there are still people out there that like the tangible, right? That like to have a CD or a DVD of someone. And I'm guessing when you sell them too, do you sign them? Do you make it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
you have to. That would have to be.
Well,
it.
the greatest joy for me, it's happened twice only. It's not a lot of joy in my life, but the 2 times it's happened, twice, once in Nelson, BC, once somewhere else, I don't remember. Somebody bought the DVD, paid $20 to me, asked me to sign it, and then goes, I don't even have a DVD player. I have nowhere to play this, but I
There you
just
go.
wanted to support you.
That's
I
a good
thought you were
point.
great.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
that is
$20
really
for
something, yeah.
some lunch and a.
Let's-
2 times. 2 times.
Twice.
I was on top of their game.
I wonder, though, would there be a scenario where, let's say, you sign up with an exclusive streaming service, right? And out of the
Inshallah.
yeah. Let's say out of the 5 streaming services that I can afford to subscribe to, because it feels like everyone needs to have 10 if you want to watch everything.
Everyone has their own now, man.
Yeah, but if his special is not on one of the services I subscribe to, why wouldn't I buy the DVD?
That's true.
Is there a market there or
Sure,
not
sure.
really?
I mean, you
But-
still need the DVD player.
But,
Yeah.
but
that's
to that
still-
point,
that's-
is the DVD cheaper than you getting a month of Amazon Prime where you can watch the special? Right? That's where they're trying to get you is hey, spend $20 on the DVD or Ali Hassan specials on Amazon Prime. Hopefully soon.
God forbid on that one.
Do you spend the $10?
At least by now.
Actually, and that's a good segue to one final question regarding this. Is obviously Netflix, when it comes to the streaming wars, are now taking place because Disney Plus just started. Amazon Prime's, to me, getting really good now with their content.
Mandalorian is
The Mandalorian on Disney Plus is killing it.
Just amazing.
You even got Apple with the morning show.
Rubbish.
I heard
Not very good.
No.
But
No,
The
but-
Watchmen, so good.
On HBO, yeah, I heard it's amazing.
So good.
So you almost have these streaming services trying to outdo each other.
Yeah, it's competition. It's great.
What do you think will be the biggest checkmate move? Will it be maybe Disney putting a Star Wars full feature on? Well, they kind of did that with The Mandalorian, but is it one of these types of checkmate moves that ends up taking
I think
place?
the checkmates will only happen to the small players.
You think so?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think the ecosystem can easily host Netflix, Amazon, Disney, all of them together. I subscribe to 3 of them. So
'Cause,
I know people who are more richer than me would probably subscribe to 5.
Because even with this, like even with the fact that they got a Scorsese, like Netflix got a Scorsese film on their service, you know, there's Amazon Prime, Apple, or even Disney are going to be looking for something even bigger just to bring on the audience.
I find it interesting. Netflix last week bought the Paris Cinema in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, that was about to shut down.
Wow, really?
Yeah. More facts that I brought to the table.
Facts.
And
Is it a Gunda cinema? People go in there and
total
watch
Gunda.
dirty movies and do dirty things?
And it was about to shut down. Netflix got in because they probably got a free lease out of the whole thing. And the checkmate move is going to be owning your cinema and making it exclusive through there.
Wow, okay.
That's the move.
So
the streamers are going to go and start taking over theaters.
Bricks and mortar.
So
Right?
go back
Because
to the
Disney's going to go out in the future, and they're just going to have Disney theaters. That's the future.
You heard it here first,
That's
folks.
crazy. That's
oh,
crazy.
man.
I like that because you're almost
Checkmate move, buddy.
You're seeing these
Checkmate
blockbusters
move.
on Netflix as a way to encourage. Even the article I flipped you guys, it says more so to encourage home viewing of a lot of these films. But now, if you start getting these streaming
This
services
is what's
to buy,
interesting. How many people are like, "Oh, theaters are dead. You know, no one wants to go out anymore." But obviously, that's
Yeah.
not true. There's
Well,
enough people-
Frozen 2 made $123 million this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And
Speaking of rubbish,
right, was it rubbish?
Wasn't
well,
good?
look, dude, I
Yeah.
can't. How many like kids and nieces and nephews you have watched this stuff on repeat until you're just
You gotta let it go, man. You gotta let it go.
Yeah.
I will never. I
Well
will
done,
never.
well
I will
done.
never appreciate that
Yeah.
pun, and I will never let it go.
Pun police, pun police. 123 million this weekend, and you'll see because they're making a killing in their streaming and going to continue to make killing in streaming. They are going
Actually-
to. Why give it to a theater when they can own
No,
it all?
they can
And
both-
then it could be. Then think about it. You go to a Disney theater, you can have your birthday party there, you're going to have some theme
Your
stuff,
marketing.
your food's going to be there, and you're going to see the movie that's coming out every quarter.
Crazy licensing. Actually, you know what? Checkmate move would be putting Frozen 3 on Disney Plus only.
Right.
That could be something big too.
To quote the Joker from Dark Knight, never give away something for free if you do it well. You know, I screwed up the quote, but you know what I'm talking about. Right. If you do something well, never give it away for free. I think he says that.
Speaking of films, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, let's talk about the Filmi movie festival taking place next week, the 20th edition, curated by our good friend Dinesh Sachdev, and then Wasim Ali. Feel free to stick around, and we'll
I
all
gotta
ask-
go.
You
I gotta
go?
say goodbye.
All right,
All right.
well,
Say goodbye.
Ali Hassan, people want to connect with you. What's the best way to connect with you?
Stand up Ali
On everything.
on everything.
Thanks so much for coming, man.
That's
Appreciate
called
this.
branding.
You're very good
Great
at branding.
branding. Great band.
Your brother has a future in the paparazzi. Also, shout out to
Oh,
your
you think
brother.
so?
He's been doing some good work out here.
Wasim, are you going to stick around with me?
I'll stick around, man.
Awesome,
I want my
awesome.
paratha and keema too.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Thanks, Ali, for joining, and we'll be right back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Saga 960.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is a show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. Big shouts to Ali Hassan for joining us earlier. He had to dip out, but still in studio I have Wasim Parkar, TV producer extraordinaire, also no stranger to Saga 960. And then I have to my right, he is the co-founder and curator of the Filmi South Asian Film Festival, which is celebrating 20 years this weekend, December 7th and 8th?
That's right.
December 7th and 8th, the Harbourfront Center, which has become like the home now of Filmi.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We in our first 5-6 years, we were at the Harbourfront Center.
Yeah.
And then we traveled to other theaters around the city, and then we've come back home.
Come back home.
Yeah, for the last 4 years, and it's been really great. The turnouts have been great. The audience participation with Q&As. I had Wasim to help me with Q&As last year, and it was awesome. And we get a really great turnout of directors showing up.
Yeah.
So that allows you not just to watch, but I think the unique thing afterwards is the audience gets to engage with the directors afterwards, and it's really kind of like a stepping stone for young directors and some veterans for sure, to be up there on stage and handling questions beforehand, after their film, and to interact with their audience. They, it's like enjoying the fruits of their labor, because usually they're stuck in an editing room and they don't actually get to engage. It's that communal thing we were mentioning before with like kind of Netflix, where sharing it with people is kind of the goal of putting a film out there.
How did Filmi start? Like, what was the genesis of it, and how has it grown over the last 20 years? Because there aren't a lot of festivals like this that have been around for this long, that have been able to keep it consistent.
We are the longest running in North America, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wouldn't say the biggest, because we were once 10 days. We did two years in a row. We did 10 days.
10 days.
Yeah, and it was brutal,
so
man.
You were like up there with TIFF pretty much.
Yeah, it's 10 days is really like it's a hard marathon.
That's like a full-time job, man.
Yeah, and it wasn't. That was the thing. And the way it started off is shout out to Mohit Rajans and
No stranger to New Theory Radio. Had him on a couple times.
Him and I were on a couch having a beer.
Nice.
And what had happened was, I had worked at the Toronto International Film Festival in 97, 98, and I was a porter. And what that meant was I schlepped film reels all from basements to theaters. And I was lifting cans. And I was climbing upstairs, and I used to carry 2 40-pound or maybe more films 40 times up and down, like, let's say, the Varsity.
Wow.
And by that, I really got to learn how to be a part of a festival. And Mo was really trying to get into the business in terms of, what does the business need? And he really wanted to start a festival, because there was another organization that was thinking about it, and there was an organization earlier on called Desh Pradesh that had just had ended its run, and I was trying to watch South Asian films at TIFF, and nobody was like promoting them, and no one was going to the theater, and TIFF didn't know how to get its audience. So I went, look, I think there's something out there, and I think the future is going to be more South Asians. Both Mohit and I said there's going to be more South Asians making this stuff. Let's try to start something.
Is this 98 or 99?
So I worked 97, 98,
yeah.
And then I met Mo in 99, and we said, let's do it right away.
Nice.
And so we did a one-day festival at Harbourfront Center, $25, 3 films, and all-you-can-eat Indian food.
Nice.
And we showed the film, which we didn't know at the time, but over time became legendary, is I got the reels from England for a film called East is East.
Amazing movie. Love that movie.
And that was what really launched Filmi in 1999 at Harbourfront Center.
Because you guys have had Monsoon Wedding after that.
We've had any Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
We even did a White Castle, Harold and Kumar.
Really?
Yeah. There's some lot of fun stuff that because sometimes distributors will come to, like, throughout time have come to us. Like, I just recently, the most recent one I did for a distributor was 100 Foot Journey. They gave us 8 screenings across Canada, and I had to fill up all screenings across Canada at the same time.
Really?
And we did it. And my friends were telling me all across Canada how awesome the screenings were. So, it's really just about, lending a voice to upcoming filmmakers. And then there comes a time where those young filmmakers don't need something like Filmi. It's really a stepping stone, a grassroots sort of approach to it. And it allows for, Richie Mehta came through our our doors, and he's a world
New Delhi crime story on Netflix.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember when he was a kid right out of college saying, show my movie Priya, right? And I said, yeah, of course we will.
That's awesome, man.
So, and there's more like that. The Ash Varmas, the Jazz Verks, the Cyrus Sundar Singhs, the Lalita Krishnas. They're all these prominent filmmakers that have made a career, and they showed their first couple of films with us, and then from there they got to learn how to work a festival, they learned how to do a Q&A, they got to learn how to network, and it's really been a good playing ground for someone who's emerging.
That's the one thing I really liked about your festival, Dinesh, and I've been going now for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
is number one, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of ego at the door, and if there is, those people slowly get weeded out and you never see them again or hear from them again. But number two is a sense of community. Like, I've seen now over the last few years people that have met at your festival and then they come back and they have something that they've done together. Or I've also seen, if you're talking networking, like, I've been able to network with some filmmakers and some directors and some videographers there that, I myself don't have a film background. I've been just in media and marketing my entire life, but being able to make these connections and sort of utilize them for some of my other projects has been a win-win for me. Like, how do you feel about being that facilitator, being that connector? Because you obviously have a sales background where you have to constantly connect with people to make money. But in this instance, you're constantly connecting people so that more films are made for future years. How do you feel about that?
It's not just the films itself. It's I think that when you make these connections, commerce, and I've seen it, commerce is created amongst the circle of people. Because, I just don't bring on actors and filmmakers, but I bring on writers, makeup artists, sound technicians, visual effects technicians. And there's this there's this economy that's created because they are all using each other's services. And I think that's super important. I think for me, it's my purpose. It's what my intent has been, and I'm fulfilling that intent. And I'm having conversations. Like, most of the people that have been accepted, I used to, and now because submissions have been so high, I used to call every single filmmaker.
I remember that.
To first not let them know that they haven't been selected, but I also talk to all the folk that have been selected, and I make those calls to connect with them. So I connect them before the Q&A, but also to make them feel as though they're included. Because I know that most South Asians have, initially at least, because I'm dealing with numbers here, don't feel included in the bigger scope of the film community in itself.
The one thing I also noticed about your festival before we sort of jump into the lineup for next week is it started South Asian, but now over the last few years, it's definitely expanded. Your festival really has like an indie Sundance vibe to it, where it's no longer about you being Indian and putting out a film. If the film is good, the film can be a part of the festival, and Filmi ends up becoming like the brand versus the mission. So, is that something that you were sort of that you now you're as you kind of think about the longevity of the festival and you think about where it's going to go for the next 20 years? Is that the shift that you want to see, or do you still want to continue to be the progressive film festival for South Asians?
I think the market will tell me where it should go. Each year gives me sort of the pulse of what's, like, if it wasn't one year, it was arranged marriages many moons ago. Then it became the call centers. And then the LGBTQ society used to bring lots of films to us. And then
last year it was horror.
And last year was horror.
It was very horror last year.
Yeah.
I like that.
And so, the horror macabre, it's just like, I like when South Asians, or those who are being on the screen, if they're not being created by South Asians, I like when they, constantly take risks, right? And not stay, with horror, there was also on the following night, there was a lot of sci-fi stuff. And I just didn't want, I don't like seeing the typical, first off.
Yeah.
And then the second is, I think the by the submissions that come in, the pulse of what people are thinking just comes on its own.
But I like that. So in general, I don't generally like to use labels. And
right.
While there was a dominance of horror that one night, even in that night, I really liked the outliers. And you can label it progressive if you want to. But I look at Filmi and I think, what? It's a nuanced film festival. Because one of the best movies that I saw that night, unfortunately, I was only able to come for one night. I'm still hoping there'll be a day where I come for all three, hopefully next year. But one of the movies that I loved that stuck with me and I found very relatable was the movie about the new bride moving to Canada. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Great movie.
That struck an emotional chord with me.
Suma Judge's film.
Suma Judge, another previous guest on the show.
That stuck an emotional chord with me. So, it's not that it's necessarily only progressive per se. It's just a voice for talent in the South Asian community. That's how I would like to describe it. I don't know if you disagree with that or not.
That's it. Again, I don't take any credit for that because it's just, I think the submissions that come in and how it's worked on its own, like it kind of just developed itself, right? I just feel like I'm the shepherd of it.
The way I kind of describe Filmi to people that ask me about it, or if I tell them, hey, I got a buddy who runs a film festival, you may want to submit your film there because it's a great community and you'll get some good feedback. I like to consider it like the most known unknown film festival because when you go to Filmi, it's jam-packed. The theater's always full, and then you do a really awesome industry party afterward. That's where the community gets created, and then the Q&A is also always fascinating, and Wasim did a fantastic job moderating last year on the fly. The Q&A is always fascinating because you get to see filmmakers at different stages in their life talking about how they came up with the idea. Like I think there was one filmmaker on there. It was like a child, not really a child, like a early, probably someone in his early 20s. But he made the movie. It was like two guys, and I think he had like a dirty stash, and like they were like in a hotel. They ended up like partying it up pretty hard. Like I remember hearing his perspective.
Oh, the Niagara one, right?
Yeah, the Niagara one.
Yeah.
I remember hearing his perspective on how the movie came about, and I was very fascinated because I'm like, I love the way this is filmed. Like this is very like Scott Pilgrimish, where it's like very tongue in cheek, and you're in on the joke.
Jake Eastcott's film.
Yeah. So that's why, like, for me, do you like, is that a bad description of the film festival, the most known unknown, or do you want to keep it that way? Or
I do want to keep it that way because I think over time we have found its niche, right? It's, if you want to say nuance, we found, I think over time, that is the voice of the Filmi Toronto Film Festival. I do have some other angles that I'm thinking about in the future because we're just getting so many submissions from around the world that I want to have offshoot sort of screenings. But this particular sort of let me give you an example of this year. We got about 2,000 submissions. And out of that, it was really hard to choose what the vibe would be. And so I took a different approach this year, and we've got 40 films we're going to be showcasing. First time ever, it's 100% Canadian.
Wow, really?
Amazing.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
And I took that approach to kind of show the industry that we have a voice here, and we're coming in numbers. And people don't know this, right? And the other filmmakers don't know this. So I hope when they all meet each other, their eyes will be wide open going, wow, there's something vibrant here. Because I know that most of these people do not know one another, right? And what I am going to have to do personally and take it under my belt is make sure all these people know one another. Call each other, email each other, create a real sense of community amongst filmmakers.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you bring up a lot of valid points, and while I love your humility about it, I'm going to put you on the spot over here, all right?
Okay.
One of my favorite Filmi memories was some of the movies that you made and starred in, like I really enjoyed Captured, for example, you know?
It's a good
so
one.
are we going to see Dinesh Sachdev and either guys in this year's Filmi?
You will not see me in this year's Filmi, but I'm working on some stuff for next year for sure.
Okay. Because I think you deserve that. It's great that you have a very generous and selfless outlook. But hey, why not see some of your qualities too?
I know. I've never wanted to make this platform about myself.
I understand,
right?
that.
And there used to be a film festival a few years after our first year, 2002, and we inspired, I think, about 14 festivals across North America after ours. And there was this group out of Dallas that was doing it, and they programmed all their own films. And I always vowed that I never wanted to do that. But when I have programmed myself in one of those, I made sure that there was a big group involved. Right. There was at least 10 to 12 people that were involved that I could help showcase them. I don't want it to be that platform, but thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. And I think there's at times I have to I can jump in to be a leader to show what needs to be out there because, there's a couple of times where, yes, Captured was one, and there's been a few others along the time where I thought there were really good pieces, and that's why they were there. But I really think it's going to be like, people have said, why don't you make a big Bollywood film festival? And I said, that's for somebody else to do.
Yeah.
I think they'll find their own voices, and they already have a sort of, their audience in the theater. These are giving a voice to people that need the encouragement right now, because I tell you, it's a game of numbers. Out of these 40, 4 or 5 of these filmmakers are going to grow on to do big things. I know it. It's a game of numbers,
Not to mention, even to get to that stage, it's a labor of love, right?
Totally
None
is.
of these filmmakers are like loaded and have tons of savings and stuff like
No.
that.
And for a
It's
lot of
totally
them-
a labor of love.
And for a lot of them, it's the first time they're showing their film to a full theater.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
there's and that's nerve wracking. Like that's so
for
scary,
sure.
especially if you work on this film and you're so close to it, and you have an audience of mostly unknowns watching it. That's you on the hot seat, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been great.
We have like 6 minutes left. Dinesh, maybe give us a rundown of the 2 days and let us know what some of the highlights are. Like, what do you think are some of the standout films? I know I'm assuming because you curated it all of them are standout. But we have 3 minutes left, according to producer extraordinaire Jyoti Pandu. I think she's still mad that we broke her mic. Can we let's just give us a rundown, man? What are the 2 days consist of, and
Okay.
what are some standouts?
Okay, so there's it's 40 shorts that we're showing. Saturday, 7:30 at the Harbourfront Center. You're going to see a bunch of sort of filmmakers that are veteran filmmakers or a little bit seasoned. And then the Sunday will be at 3 p.m. It's a docs special, essentially. So a lot of local doc filmmakers. And then Sunday, 7:30 is our emerging filmmakers shorts program. And I've kind of broken it up like that to sort of have like a growing, like the emerging filmmakers will grow into those established filmmakers. So some of the highlights that are out there is we've brought our old friend Ash Varma, who hit record number of submissions. He's got 5 films in the festival. And the real reason why I'm pushing Ash Varma is because he's really grown as a filmmaker. You guys both know him really well. Yeah. Worked with us at Rogers as well. He's on the cusp of making feature films, and I really want to get him the attention that he deserves, because he's one of the filmmakers that will make a feature film, and you will see him on a national scale. I truly believe in him, and I want to showcase his talent, because not only is he going to make it in a feature film, kind of like the big leagues, but he's bringing up he goes out and finds a lot of talent.
Yeah. He
goes and finds and auditions a lot of new faces, new looks, and he does a variety of kind of like stories. They're all over the place. Some weird, some interesting, some right on the nose, some mental health. He hits it all up. Another person I like to bring to everyone's attention is a guy named Steve Kassan. He's a local actor. He's got 3 or 4 films in the festival. I forget, because he just keeps making material and keeps sending it in, and it's always with a good team. And it's not necessarily showing what Steve can do, and Steve will say this himself because he's a humble guy. But he works with great teams, and he brings together some great teams. Then we've got some really great docs. There is a lady named Maya Bastian who's got 2 docs called Arrival Archives and Air Show, and she used for Air Show, she used actual she talked about how air shows are shows of the might of a country, and then how it affects us as Canadians when we see it. But then when you are a refugee, how it affects you, because these are war machines and you see them in a different light.
Consider I used to live at Lakeshore and Park Lawn, and during the CNE air show, the planes, like, you would hear them, and it's kind of scary even for someone living in that area, because you see them just drifting right past your condo, and I can't imagine what a new refugee has to go through when they hear.
Right. So she actually used as her subjects, her actors, she used refugees to sort of depict what she was doing.
That sounds awesome, man. Honestly, Dinesh, congrats on 20 years of Filmi. I think it's going to be a fantastic event.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to be there. Filmi.org. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
Just look up Dinesh or Filmi.org and I'm there.
Awesome. And then Wasim, you're anti-social media. If somebody wants to connect with you, do you want them to contact me and then I'll see if it's worth the connection?
I think you said it best.
That should be your handle, anti-social media.
I feel like at one point, I think when I had you on the previous version of the show, you plugged your LinkedIn.
Did I?
Did you?
I haven't even updated my LinkedIn.
So LinkedIn's also off limits. So you guys, you can't connect with Wasim. But boys, thanks so much.
I don't want to be connected.
We'll just keep Wasim.
Yeah.
Thank you both for joining us here on
NewTheoryRadio. Thanks for having us.
Big
really
shout out
appreciate
to Ali Hassan. Big thanks to Colorblind Photography for always doing the photos. Check those out on social. Big shout outs to our producer extraordinaire Jyoti Pandu behind the boards. And yes, if you missed today's show, we'll be airing again tomorrow from 8 to 10 p.m. And then it'll be available on a podcast as of Tuesday. You can connect with me at New Theory Radio across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and at Nav Nanwa on Instagram, and at Nanwa on Twitter. And you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on saga960am.ca.
At American University, we don't just hope for change, we create it. We don't just dream of a better world, we make it a reality. With a graduate degree from AU, you'll access expert faculty and connections throughout DC to develop skills and experience to turn your passion into purpose. And that purpose can make all the difference in your career. Discover the difference a degree makes at american.edu/grad school.